You are currently training the people around you to disrespect you. It isn't happening because you're weak, and it isn't happening because you're unkind. In fact, it is happening because you are trying too hard to be understood. Most people believe that respect is something you earn by being clear, helpful, and open. But the truth is much more jarring. You don't earn respect by demanding more of it, you lose it by explaining too much. The moment your words start needing justification, the people around you can feel the shift in power, even if they don't realize it consciously. That is the exact moment interruptions begin. That is when the subtle jokes start to slip in. That is when the social balance disappears. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to flip this dynamic on its head and use the invisible signals of high status presence to ensure you are never talked over again. Think about the last time you felt disrespected. It probably wasn't a screaming match or a blatant insult. It was likely something much more subtle. Maybe you were mid-sentence and someone simply started talking over you as if you weren't there. Maybe you suggested an idea that was met with silence, only for someone else to repeat the exact same thing 5 minutes later to thunderous applause. The worst part about this kind of disrespect is that you can't really call it out. If you do, you're the one who looks sensitive or dramatic. You feel like you're making a big deal out of nothing. So, you do what seems logical, you try to be clearer, you explain more, you add context, you soften your tone to show you're a team player. But here is where it gets interesting. By trying to fix the problem with more words, you are actually making it worse. Social disrespect doesn't come from what you say, it comes from how people feel in your presence. If someone feels they can interrupt you without consequence, they will. If they feel you'll just keep explaining yourself regardless of whether they're listening, they have no reason to pay attention the first time. Most disrespect isn't personal, it's positional. Humans are constantly, subconsciously checking one specific thing: how much space you take up without asking for permission. When you over-explain, you aren't being polite, you are shrinking. You're essentially saying, hold on, let me convince you that I'm worth listening to. The moment you do that, the room decides you aren't. But there is a trap here that almost everyone falls into. You might think that being nicer or clearer will eventually win people over. However, did you know that the human brain processes social status in less than 200 milliseconds? Before you've even finished your first sentence, the people in the room have already decided where you sit in the pecking order. If you lead with an explanation, you are leading with a defense, and you only defend what is under attack. Stay until the end, because the final shift we discuss will change how you view every interaction for the rest of your life. The confusing part of this dynamic is that effort does not signal value in social situations. In the world of work, effort is rewarded. In the world of respect, effort often signals availability. Think about how you treat something that is scarce and hard to get. You pay attention. You listen carefully. You don't rush. Now, think about how you treat something that is endlessly available, like the air you breathe or the junk mail in your inbox. You ignore it. You skim it. You assume you can come back to it later if you feel like it. Over-explaining puts you in that second category. You are removing all the social tension from the moment. Social dynamics need a little wait, a little pause, and a little uncertainty to function correctly. When everything is pre-chewed and softened for the other person, there is nothing for them to adjust to. So, they don't adjust. They just walk over you. People don't respect effort. They respect economy. This is a hard truth to swallow. Someone who uses fewer words but stands by them feels grounded. Someone who keeps talking until everyone in the room nods in agreement feels unsure. This isn't about being a silent person. It's about being a complete person. A complete sentence doesn't chase approval. A complete presence doesn't rush to fill the silence. Most people confuse kindness with self-erasure. They think, if I explain more, they'll see I'm reasonable. But the social brain isn't looking for reasonable. It's asking a much simpler question. Does this person believe what they are saying, or do they need me to believe it for them? If the answer is the latter, people will test you. They will tease you. They will push just to see where your edge is. If you keep explaining, you are effectively moving your edge further and further back until you have no ground left to stand on. This leads us to the invisible signal. Before anyone hears your words, a signal has already been sent. People decide how to treat you based on how settled you seem inside your own skin. This is why two different people can say the exact same sentence and get completely different reactions. One gets interrupted, the other gets total silence and attention. The difference is containment. Containment is how much of your energy you keep unleaked. When you talk too fast or explain before you're even questioned, you are leaking presence. You are signaling that you are uncomfortable with the space you occupy. Think about someone you naturally respect. They don't rush their sentences. They don't stack 3 explanations on top of one another. They say something and then they let it sit. That pause does something strange to a room. It forces others to adjust to you. When there is no rush to fill the silence, the social pressure shifts away from you and onto everyone else. Suddenly, they are the ones leaning in. They are the ones waiting. Most people fear silence because they think it's awkward. But you have to ask yourself, awkward for whom? Usually, it's only awkward for the person who is scrambling. If you are calm, the silence becomes a tool of authority. If you're finding this valuable, hit subscribe! Most viewers aren't subscribed yet. Now, let's look at the most practical tool you can use starting today, the pause. This is shockingly simple but incredibly difficult to master. The next time someone says something that would normally pull you into a defensive explanation or a nervous laugh, do nothing for one full breath. You don't need a dramatic stare down, just a simple, calm pause. In that moment, the dynamic flips. Normally, when someone pushes you, they expect movement. They expect you to react, to justify, or to soften the blow. When that movement doesn't come, their brain has to recalculate. They realize that you are not a pushover in the literal sense of the word. You are unmovable. The human brain reads calm as authority, not a loud, aggressive authority, but a grounded one. You will notice something fascinating. When you start using the pause, people will often keep talking. They will start to clarify themselves. They will soften their own tone. They might even take back what they just said. You didn't have to confront them. You didn't have to get angry. You simply refused to carry the social weight for both of you. Most disrespect survives because someone, usually you, immediately absorbs the tension. You laugh it off so nobody feels bad. You explain so there's no misunderstanding. The pause refuses to do that. It leaves the tension exactly where it belongs, with the person who created it. This is how you create boundaries without ever having to have a big talk. Most people think boundaries are something you announce. You sit someone down and explain your feelings. While that has its place, everyday boundaries are rarely respected because they were explained. They are respected because they are felt. When you immediately explain why something bothered you, you've already taken on the emotional labor. You're teaching them that crossing your line leads to a long conversation that can probably tune out. A quiet boundary is different. It doesn't argue. It simply doesn't move. If someone tosses you a joke, that is actually a disguised insult, and you don't reach out to catch it with a nervous laugh, they have to stand there holding it. It makes the moment honest. If they were being careless, the pause hands that responsibility back to them. Consider the example of Keanu Reeves. For years, people labeled him as quiet or awkward, but watch his interviews. He doesn't rush. He doesn't perform. He answers a question and then he stops. He is comfortable not being received immediately. Or look at Steve Jobs. He was famous for using silence to force clarity. He would ask a question and wait until the silence became so heavy that the other person had to stop pretending and start being honest. Neither of these men demanded respect through volume. They simply behaved as if their presence didn't need constant validation. Their words landed heavier because there were fewer of them. Real respect starts with how you treat your own attention. Attention is the most honest signal you have. If you give it away too quickly, or if you rush to respond to every ping and every comment, you are telling the world that your inner world is accessible rather than valuable. Think about your phone. If it's always in your hand, you check it without thinking. It feels unimportant. But if you only check it at specific times, you are intentional and present with it. People treat you the same way. If you jump into every conversational gap, people assume you're always available for interruption. This shift will feel wrong at first. When you stop over-explaining and start holding your space, you will feel a sense of emotional withdrawal. It feels like you're being rude or cold, but that feeling isn't guilt. It's the sensation of breaking a habit. You are stepping out of the role of the person who makes things easy for everyone else. When you stop playing that role, some people will adjust and listen more closely. Others will test you. They will push harder to see if they can make you snap back into your old, easy self. If you stay calm and hold the pause, the testing stops. No reaction means no leverage. Eventually, you will notice the shift. Conversations will feel calmer. People will hesitate slightly before interrupting you, checking the temperature of the room first. That hesitation is the sound of respect. You'll find you need fewer explanations. People will start asking for your opinion instead of you having to insert it. Most importantly, you will feel less tired. You'll realize that you were exhausted not from talking, but from the constant impression management you were doing. When you stop leaking energy, you become clearer. And clarity is relaxing for everyone. You don't need a new personality. You just need to stay where you are a little longer than you used to. Less reacting, more stillness. Drop a comment telling me which of these leaks you notice in your own life most often. And subscribe if you haven't. I post new videos every week.